This happened to me a few years ago when I was 21. I'd moved out of my parents' house and into this cheap little cottage in the middle of nowhere. I didn't mind living alone or being isolated because I liked having my own space and I enjoyed the peace and quiet. Also, it was cheap and I was a student, so I didn't have much money. One day, I was in my bedroom and I started to hear a knocking sound coming from inside the wall. I stopped what I was doing and listened intently. It sounded like someone was knocking from the other side, but there was no one in the house with me, and whatever was on the other side didn't sound friendly. So I did what any logical person would do. I took a kitchen knife with me to bed. I didn't want to sleep anyway, so I figured that if whatever was in my wall wanted to come out, it would probably try to do so in the middle of the night when I was most vulnerable. I scrambled backwards, knocking over my bed in the process, and ran out of the bedroom. I don't remember if I called out for help or screamed for someone to call 911, but eventually the house went silent again, like nothing had happened, and I haven't heard anything since. I don't think whatever it was managed to fully drag itself through the hole. Maybe it's still stuck in there, but sometimes when I'm lying in bed trying to sleep, I can still hear scratching noises coming from inside my wall. And if it managed to break through, well, at least I'd have a weapon. I told myself that I was being silly. It was probably just a mouse or some other small animal, but still, I felt safer with the knife. I walked over to the wall and knocked on it lightly, knock. Then I heard the scratching noises again. This time they were really loud and they sounded frantic. Whatever was on the other side of the wall was really trying to get out. It started off slow, then gradually got faster and more intense. Suddenly, the wall in front of me started to crack. The scratching noises stopped, and I held my breath as I watched the cracks slowly grow. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw something white slowly emerge from the darkness. I don't know how to describe what it was. It was like a hand, but it was pale, almost white, like the hand of a skeleton. It reached out and grabbed hold of the edge of the bed. I screamed and slashed at it with a knife, but it didn't seem to feel the pain that I was inflicting on it. It just kept pulling itself out of the wall. I don't remember what it looked like because I was trying to look everywhere, except for directly at it. At first it was very faint and I couldn't make out what it was, but then it got louder and more aggressive. The scratching sounds almost like fingernails on wood paneling. Then suddenly they stopped. I don't remember what time it was, but I knew that I was awake for several hours after that. I just lay there listening intently, straining to hear anything else, but it was silent. And then I heard a knock back, as if whoever was on the other side had knocked back at me. I freaked out and ran out of the house, down the garden and around the side where the knocking noise seemed to be coming from. But there was nothing there. There were no pipes or wires or anything that could have been making the noise. At first, the knocking only happened when I made a loud noise, like when I slammed a door or I was playing music. But then it started happening more frequently, even when I was whispering or when I was completely silent. Sometimes I would just be lying in bed, trying to sleep when I would hear a loud knocking sound, like someone was trying to break through the wall. It always seemed to be coming from the same spot, right above my bed. The knocking would start off slow and then gradually get faster and more intense. Like I said before, at first it only happened when I made noise, but then it started happening at random times, even when I was home alone and silent. Then one night while I was asleep, I started hearing scratching noises coming from the wall. Now, obviously, I was scared. It's not normal to hear scratching sounds in your bedroom wall in the middle of the night. A few hours passed, and I started to doze off. But then it started to pull me towards the hole in the wall, and I knew that I had to escape. Or whatever this thing was would drag me into the wall, and I'd never be seen again.